conflict. The seed of the conflict was laid in 1917 when the then British Foreign Secretary Mr. Arthur James Barlow came up with a declaration which is also Hello everyone, my lecture topic is Israel-Palestine conflict. This is a conflict which is in the existence for more than a century and there is not a solution, there is no solution of the conflict till now. Talking about the history of the conflict, the seed of the conflict was laid in 1917 when the then British Foreign Secretary Mr. Arthur James Barlow came up with a declaration which is also known as the Balfour Declaration, uh, in which he stated that Britain officially supported the Jewish to have the national home in Palestine, and they did not show any concern towards the non-Jewish existence, non-Jewish residents in that area, which are the Arabs, which results in the prolonged violence. There was a increased violence in the Palestine between the Jewish and Arabs, and at the time the Britishers withdrawn withdrawn their forces from the Palestine and giving the responsibility to solve the issue to the newly created UN in 1948. In 1948, United Nations came up with a solution of two-state solution, which means the Palestine region can be divided into two states, in which the Jewish majority will be known as Israel, whereas the area which has the majority of Arabs will be known as the Palestine. But Arabs were against it, and they did not accept the resolution passed by the UN. Then in 1948, the Israel declared their independence, and which resulted into the attack by the surrounding nations like Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, and it resulted into the war. And in this war, the Israel has won more than 50% of the territories which are given under the UN resolution. In 1964, the PLO, which is the Palestine Liberation Organization, came into the existence. In 1967, there was a six-day war between Arab and Israelis, and in this war, Israeli forces has seized the major parts of West Bank, Golan Heights, Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, and Gaza Strip. So these are the areas which the Israeli forces has seized in that war. And then in 1975, in 1975, the Palestine Liberalization Organization was awarded the observer status by the UN. In 1993, an Oslo Accord was signed between the Palestine and Israeli, in which they mutually recognized each other and decided to renounce the violence. In 1993, there was a Palestine Authority came into the existence, and in 2005, the Israeli forces started withdrawing from the Gaza, and Israeli forces also took the tight control of the border which touched the Gaza Strip, causing the blockade in the Gaza. In 2006, Hamas, which came into the existence in 1984, took the control and win the election, which resulted into the divide in the Palestinians and the divide between the Hamas and the Palestine Liberalization Organization. So after this divide, the Gaza was under the Hamas, and in 2007, the PLO was thrown out of the Gaza, and they formed the government in the West Bank. So this is about the history. Talking about what both the parties want, both the parties And the Palestine wants that Israel should stop the expansion and also retreat to the pre 1967 territorial boundaries which they have, and they also want that in the 1948 there were many people who fled from the Palestine should come back to Palestine. Israel wanted to be known as the Jewish state and wanted to have Jerusalem as the capital, and they also want that the refugees should come back to Palestine, not to Israel. So, what are the problems why they are not getting to a common solution? The problem is borders. There is no consensus between the Palestine government and the Israelis that where the line should be drawn. The second thing is Jerusalem. Both Palestine and the Israel wanted Jerusalem as their capital. So these are the issues between the two countries. And if we talk about India's stand on this conflict, then in 1948, India has opposed the UN resolution, partition plan, echoing their own experience during the partition. In 1950, India recognized Israel as a sovereign country, and India also recognized PLO as the sole representative of Palestine. In 2018, India came up with the Link West policy, in which India maintained the relationship with both Israel and Palestine. So this is India's stand on the conflict, and India treating both the nations, both Israeli and Palestine, as the sovereign nations and maintaining the bilateral relations with them. Thank you.